Hey everyone, this is Leatherass with DragTheBar.com. Today I'm playing two tables of 5-10 no limit. This game has sort of been my bread and butter over the last about 3 years now. I have played the majority of my hands at 5-10 no limit. I play mostly 5-10 no limit. I shouldn't say it is mostly, but it's not too skewed at 5-10. I probably play about 65% of my poker at 5-10, and the other approximately 1/3 of my poker at 10-20 and 25-50, and very occasionally a little bit higher. But this is definitely my bread and butter game. I've had the most success at 5-10, or I should say I've made the most money in my career at 5-10, and I'm happy to be here today and try and show you guys how, give you guys a little glimpse of the high stakes games. If you're someone who's just striving to get there, or if you're somebody who's already there, then maybe this can help you beat the game for a little bit more than you do now. So in any event, with that, we have deuce 7 on table 1. Table 1 is on the left, table 2 is on the right, and deuce 7 and 6 deuce is probably not a good idea to play, so we're going to go ahead and take a pass on those hands. Here at the pocket 7s, we're going to start off by making it 30 on the button, and we will see where this takes us. For now, in pocket 5s here, we'll also make it 30. So we pick up the blinds here on table 2. We get called on the button on table 1, and the flop doesn't come obviously very good for us, but we'll just hope that we can represent an ace, and we'll start off by making a continuation bet, and luckily it works, so pick up the pot. I built my stack up slightly here on table 2. Have almost $1,400 now. I played about one orbit and won a decent sized pot on table 1, or excuse me, table 2, so that's why I'm starting off with a little bit more of a than 100 blinds. Got about 137 blinds right now. Here on the 4-6, even on the button, I just prefer to fold a hand like that. And 3-8 offsuit, you guys don't really need to know what to do with those. And I will keep looking for different games, because I'm not thrilled with the table on the left. I'm a little concerned that it will break up, because everybody there looks like a professional, and typically the games don't last long when everyone's a professional. And so we're actually going to replace table 1 with another table here. And the other table, hopefully the game won't break up. So sorry about that. So table 2, we had a limper, and for those who've maybe watched my videos over the years, you would know that when there's a limper, I tend to jack up the price of poker. We get, he does in fact call, and so we missed the flop completely, but it is pretty dry, and we'll hope that he didn't get a piece of that, and we'll make a continuation bet, and luckily it folds, so he folds. So yeah, poker's just that easy, you just raise and they flop nothing, and you make a continuation bet and you win the pot. That's the way poker goes. That's the way it goes when things are going well, but that's not necessarily always the case, as you guys know. But it's a winning play overall. When guys limp in, just make them pay. I mean, they're telling you right there. I mean, I suppose back in the day, if you playing full ring or something, and you had a 75-year-old man with a cup of coffee next to him, he limps in under the gun, and he only plays 5% of his hands, you might be scared to death of doing something like that, because he might be sandbagging a pair of aces or something. But That's typically not the case online. You don't really find guys limp re-raising a whole lot. It happens, but it's not common, and it's certainly, it could be factored into your equation on whether you want to make a big raise against a limper, but I wouldn't factor it in too heavily. And so here at the Jack 5, we'll do it here. We got a limper. I don't know anything about this guy. To my knowledge, I have never played a hand with him in my life. So we get kind of a tricky flop here. We flop top pair, which looks pretty good, but you know, it's a pretty well coordinated board. I think we'll go ahead and start off by betting, and we'll, you know, if we get raised right here, we'd probably want, out of position, just want to go ahead and get rid of the hand. We do get raised, and you know, at this point, you know, I could get tricky, like I could call here, and then, you know, if the turn bricks, I'd check raise all in or something like that. But you know, against an unknown, you know, I could be drawing dead for all we know. You could have ace deuce or 6-7, or, you know, pocket 3s or 4s or something that isn't a whole lot of fun. And until we know more about this guy, we're just going to play it safe and bet fold. It wouldn't be a crime to check call the flop and, you know, turn, and maybe if the board gets real nasty, you fold at some point. But it wouldn't, that would not be a bad play either, especially against someone who limps in pre-flop. You'd expect he'd be a little more passive and, you know, may not put too much heat on you. So, you know, a read would be nice. I mean, there's some guys that I could ship that flop with, but it's just, you know, I tend to play a little more close to the vest against a new opponent. So we see him making a lot of these weak little donks. I don't really know what that means. I hope that this pot gets to showdown here. It'd be nice to see what's going on. So we kept up the, kept putting the pressure on him with Jack 4 suited. I suspect this one will go to showdown. I can't imagine passive folding anything at this point. And wow, he just valued it the whole way. So weak bets mean weak hand for him, at least in that case. So good to know. And we'll just go ahead and bet a little more than half the pot here. We have an over, a backdoor flush, and a inside straight draw. The club hits. This guy strikes me as a guy, certainly a flush could be in his range right now. I could see him playing it passively. I've also come after this guy on every hand, several hands even before we started this video, so I'm not going to just try and totally run him over on every street no matter what. So I'm going to check back here, and you know, if I found maybe a really nice river where I could you know, represent something, or it got real nasty for him, and he checked me, you know, I could make a bet, but I'm just going to go ahead and give it to him. So we've made it 60 so many times. I'm going to throw a little wrench in here and make it 30. I also expect, I've done it so many times that some of my opponents have got to be about ready to start coming after me at this point. I'm just going to make kind of a smaller raise this time because, you know, one is he's called every time I've made it 60. My hand's not that great. I do think I'm kind of due to kind of get 3-bet pretty soon, so we'll just make it a little bit smaller, make a little position raise, just try and isolate him a little bit. So we flop middle pair. This is you know, one of the kind of eternally tricky spots here in poker. What I hate checking because you give, you know, all kinds of hands a shot to catch up. I hate betting because, you know, you're value telling yourself a lot, and you can get check raised by so many hands that you beat that you just can't continue on if they check raise you. And so I'm just going to go ahead and check back here, and we probably get the mother of all nasty cards on the turn that fills in absolutely everything. Of course, we don't know that anybody has anything. Now we have a little bit of an indicator. This is a clear fold. So chances are, given that given what we've seen so far on the turn, I can't imagine I was ever going to get a fold on the flop, so which means it looks like I saved some money by not betting the flop in this particular case. But that is a little bit results oriented, and you wouldn't want to think that that necessarily makes it the right play. But it's close. I mean, you could ask some of the top players in the world, and they would tell you it's a bet, and could ask them, and they would tell you it's a check. So my plan for the rest of the hand was just kind of to get to showdown, you know, maybe induce some bluffs type of thing, if the board didn't get so nasty. So Javert 69 takes a break, doesn't limp in the pot. It's kind of news right there. Newsworthy, I should say. But that's perfect, you know, it's a guy we have direct position on, so we want him to do that. So here at the tens, I'm going to go ahead and start by betting. We're betting a little bit for protection of the hand. We're betting for value. There's all sorts of things we're betting on. I think if I checked here, I would have to pay off a river bet if he bet. I can't just give him credit for a jack that easily. So I'm going to go ahead and bet again. And again, you know, maybe for value. I might be value towning myself if he has a jack. But I have to pay that bet on the river anyway. So I'm going to put it in now while I can protect my hand. And, you know, if he check raises, I'm done. So at this point, you know, it's a great river card because it looks like, and if I was already beat on the turn, then I guess I should say there's nothing new that would have changed his hand. I don't think he caught up on the river. So if I was behind, you know, if I'm behind, I'm behind. But I can't bet for value in this case. So yeah, he has top pair, top kicker. You know, he played the hand a little passive. This day and age, you know, at one point in time, that was a great way to play that hand. These days, you're probably better off check raising that flop and just go ahead and be willing to get all the money in. It's going to look to me when I get check raised there like he's representing like pretty much only a set and or air, and it's just going to look really fishy to me, and so I'm going to be inclined to want to get to showdown, and so because of that reason, I think he's better off just playing the hand for stacks, and if he goes broke, he goes broke. You know, if I have queens, kings, or aces or a set, then, you know, he goes broke. But I think that's a little bit passive. It's not horrible. I don't mean to pick on it too much. You know, he could induce bluffs because I'm likely to fire, you know, a second and third barrel and stuff like that. So there's certainly an argument for it. It works both ways too. But I think he can get paid off his whole stack if I flop a hand like queen jack or king jack a lot. So when, you know, back in, you know, even just a year ago, you couldn't really get someone stacked there at the mid-stakes games. If they had king jack, they'd eventually lie it down. But this day and age, they might not. Don't like that turn card. It's going to give him more hope if he has a 10. You know, if he does have a jack and I bet here, I get check raised. I'm going to go ahead and take the free card, and we'll see what to do on the river. If he checks again, I might bet. So his hand looks a lot like a 10 to me. I mean, I could get real tricky here and like make it like 400 and get him to hopefully fold a 10. But given that I've pounded him like pre-flop on every hand, he's probably not going to give me a lot of credit. So I'm just going to go ahead and pass. You know, I could represent, you know, made flush. There's a lot I can represent on the river. You know, I could boat up on the turn and decide to play a little slow. 5-6 off, I don't like it from the small blind. I'm so tempted to play it because Javer is so bad. What the hell, I'll play it. I may typically fold it there, but, you know, we're in a video and you guys know that it's borderline. I've made that clear. And, you know, so why not get involved in a few more pots if possible. And here we flop a 6. I'm just going to go ahead and just see what's going on. I'm just going to bet it right out. I mean, check folding seems kind of weak. And, you know, check calling, just it leaves me guessing the whole time and turns my hand face up a little. So I don't mind just leading right out and see if we pick up the pot. Now, I just don't imagine he's ever going to fold. I mean, I could maybe move him off of a worse 6 or a better 6, but you know, the flush got there. He might be slow playing trips. That's the last money I'm putting in this pot, given that turn card. And here with the deuces, I opted not to bet. Sometimes I bet that flop, sometimes I don't. When there's like a flush draw and a weaker player who's, you know, going to be hard to push off an ace, I'm just more inclined to give up. So here we actually have a, you know, half decent hand against Javer. And so we'll go ahead and pop it up to 50. And we're certainly getting it in. I think we're getting it in with everybody here pre-flop if necessary. Andrew Boccia is, you know, I'm kind of surprised he hasn't 3-bet me a little more given all the times I've been raising this guy. Javer, I might not have got it in because if he limp re-raise, it's probably something really good because he's so passive. But I would have got it in against the other two guys in the blinds pre-flop. So here I'll go ahead and bet. And we get called. And a really safe turn card, you know, unless he had like 9-4 or 9-5, you know, this should be fine. So we're going to go ahead and make a pretty hefty bet here. Bet like 210. And, you know, if he like check raises all in on the turn or something, we could probably get away from it because he's so passive. I don't think he's just going to randomly do it with air or something or like some, you know, 3. So we're going to go ahead and bet. And if we get a good turn, I was going to say if he called, and we got a real good turn card like, you know, a 7 or like a deuce or, I mean, even like a jack or something like that, like some hand that just, it can't really have helped him. You could probably just ship for value on the river and hopefully get paid off by some type of ace-5 or some hand that just thinks I'm full of crap. You know, we've obviously come after him a lot at this table, so I think it's certainly possible that he could put us on some type of busted draw or just total bluff in general. I think with Jack-7 I'm going to take a little break given how active I've been. And here with the ace-10 I'll go ahead and pop it up and make it 110. Not picky about raise sizing. I'll make it anywhere from 90 to, you know, 115 or whatever. So I'm going to go ahead and continuation bet here. If he raises me back, I'm done. You know, we're just trying to hope he has like a lot of suited connectors or, you know, pocket pairs or something. We made 3-10, so that was really that was gin right there. That's the one hand we might actually be able to get paid off on. So I'm going to go ahead and bet about 245, and, you know, if he flops some crazy hand like, you know, if he has Jack-10 or King-10 or Ace-Queen or something, then we're just going to go broke. But I'm never getting away from 3 10s on that board. So hopefully he didn't backdoor anything crazy, but I'm just going to ship for value on the river. I think he would have put the money in on the turn with a flush draw. And that was nice there. Got a stack. So life is good. I'm not in love with the way he played that hand. Although as I say that, I'm trying to think what else he could do. that flop was just not a lot of fun for him, popping the flop and getting it in. I suppose that is an option for him, because there are worse hands I would put all the money in on the flop with, but I'm not sure that's a great option for him. Here at the ace-10, I think we'll call and maybe let Troy come along here in the small blind and maybe have a half decent hand in position on him. He doesn't come along, so that's a little bit unfortunate. So what we'll probably do is float this flop and hopefully try and discourage him, thinking I might have an 8 sometimes or a queen or something like that. And if he can fire the turn after I call on this board, then we can probably just get rid of the hand. I mean, we could do something tricky like pop the turn on him, but it's one of those situations where I don't like to put big moves on guys too often right after I just stack them, because sometimes they're just likely to kind of go with a weaker hand because they're on tilt or whatever. So and I mean, there's no guarantee that this is a winning play to raise this flop. I mean, or this turn. So and I could call the turn as well and fold the river, or if fold the river, or if he checks the river, I just bet, or maybe even take the showdown with ace high. So in any event, here at the ace-8, we're only calling a min raise. We're going to have position in the hand on Javer. I think it's a no-brainer to at least see a flop getting 5 to 1. I mean, it's not an ideal hand by any means. You'd like to have it be ace-8 suited or something, which, and there's also a good argument for squeezing, but this guy on the button here just is one of those guys that is super inclined to fight back. I think that's no secret, and he knows that I know that. So I'm less inclined to want to squeeze him, and especially when I actually have Javer in there and I can have position on him, it's not such a bad thing to take position on him in the flop. Whereas if I squeeze, I'm really kind of throwing position out of the window a little bit. So we make top 2, and I'm just going to go ahead and bet, and I'll get all the money in if I have to. I just didn't want to see it get checked through with all those draws, and so I went ahead and kind of took it in my own hands, and it was pretty unlikely that the other guy had an ace anyway, because it looks like Javer, it's a good chance he has an ace, and I know I have an ace, so I wasn't really too concerned about the other guy. I think he was just bluffing on the flop. So I think if he has an ace, he'll probably call me, and if he doesn't, he's going to fold. So I'm going to go ahead and make a really large bet. I'm going to go ahead and make a pot bet and just hope that maybe he puts me on a flush draw, given that I've kind of come after him so many times. And he snap folded, so I don't think he was calling any bet there. I don't think he was calling, I think he just had a missed draw of some kind and he gave up. I don't think he just saw a big bet, knows that I've been messing with him all day long, and just decided to snap fold. I think he would have given it some thought. So I really like my bet size on the river. I don't mind, when I've been stepping on a guy like I have all session with Javer, I would definitely prefer to him, for him to think, man, is this for value? Is this a bluff? What's going on here? So here at the 5-6, a lot of really aggressive guys would 3-bet this pretty commonly. I do sometimes, but I generally, I would say I play the hand probably half of the time. Maybe, I don't know what the number is, but I don't really think of it in those terms. But I play the pot fairly often, but not more often than I would fold. So I would 3-bet there. I would never call out of the blind. I don't think it's a really great play. So I will raise that pre-flop a pretty decent percentage of the time. Maybe like 25% of the time or something, and fold the rest. So I floated with the ace-5 just, to have position on Javer. I don't like my hand, but I really like having position on Javer with any sort of half decent hand. And you know, I didn't flop well, and Javer let out, and he's real passive. So this is, you know, a 2-year-old could figure out to fold that flop. So we take it down with a button steal with Jack-10 offsuit. Haven't gotten a lot of resistance with pre-flop raise. I'm not sure we've been 3-bet yet, which is pretty rare. 8-7 offsuit here, I'll just give it a pass. I'd imagine I'm going to start getting 3-bet here constantly because I just jinx myself. I don't believe in that stuff really at all, but it does seem funny how it kind of can work out that way, doesn't it? So come on, Andrew, 3-bet me, take my money. No, he doesn't. So, all right. So one thing I like about playing these stakes in videos is that, well, I should say one thing I don't like is that, you know, as you can appreciate, you know, I make money from poker. That's my primary source of income. These are the primary games that I play. So, you know, a lot of people might be like, hey, Dusty, what the hell are you doing here? Why would you play at the games in a video that you play at every single day? That doesn't seem like a smart thing to do. I agree with that to a pretty large extent. However, the folks here at DragTheBar have been really great to me. They are just a really great company. I have not made high stakes videos in the past. Maybe made 1 or 2 in my life. But I am going to start making more of these videos here because you know, basically I want the members here to get the most out of their membership. I think some people, not all people, but you know, some people want to see me play the games that I actually beat, and I'm just inclined to reciprocate the favor when everyone here at this company is just so wonderful. So that's my little spiel on that. Here with Ace-Jack offsuit, I'm going to go ahead and just rep a big hand. I've raised under the gun. I've flopped 2 overcards here. I've bet into 2 people. I definitely got to look pretty strong here. I don't want to put Andrew in a position of, I don't want to turn my hand face up, and I think if I bet here on the turn, he's going to probably raise me or call when he has a really strong hand, like if he flopped a set or something, and he's just going to get rid of it otherwise. So I'd rather just go ahead and bet. A lot of times when guys were more passive, I would just call that, or I would just check call that turn and maybe look for some value on the river, or I would check call and then check call again. And but actually I probably wouldn't. I would check call the turn, and then I could get away from the hand at some point, giving the guy credit for a set. But the games have evolved to the degree where I would just kind of turn my hand face up by checking the turn, and then Andrew would just be like, oh man, there's no way he's calling if I, you know, pot the turn in the river. And you know, and so so I guess what I'm getting at is he can kind of turn his hand to a bluff, and he can put me in a really bad spot on, you know, and I didn't really want to be playing a guessing game when we're 130, 140 blinds deep, trying to figure out if he flopped a set or he turned a hand into a bluff and play like a massive pot. And so I just decided to play a little more close to the vest, which some people would think checking was closer to the vest. But I just know that I'm turning my hand face up, and Andrew Bochia is just going to go pot, pot, turn and river. And so I actually decided to take the more passive line by betting, if that makes sense. So I just bet the hand for value. Additionally, Javer, so it gives me the information on Andrew, because I don't think he would have the stones to raise as a bluff there on the turn, given I've represented strength 3 times in a row into 2 people. I don't think that would be too wise of him. And so, you know, and it has the additional benefit of maybe I can just bet the turn and river for value and stack Javer. So Anyway, that's kind of where my head was at with that, and I hope that makes sense, and I'm certainly willing to discuss it more in the forums if anybody's unclear on anything. So with the queen 9, I'm just going to go ahead and make a little tiny bet. I think I have the best hand right now with a pair of queens. I'm just going to go ahead and make a tiny little bet, and you know, maybe some guy will pay me off with like a 5-6 or something like that. So we get nothing there, but that's fine. At least nobody called with like king 3 or something, so that would have been frustrating. But a lot of the reason why I like to do that is because sometimes it'll just get checked around, and I'll do that with 6 high and pick up the pot. And it's good to know who the people are who will just fold for, you know, a min bet. So we're still waiting for that squeeze. It's got to be coming. Andrew, squeeze me. Yeah, there it goes. I've never played this long in a row without getting 3-bet, so I felt that was coming. And because, you know, I got to give him some credit right now. I mean, he hasn't done it, and he's had every right to do it to me at these 2 tables, so I'm not going to pick now to fight back. I've certainly got my fair share of free pots at this table. I've built up, you know, I've just won a number of pots without a showdown, so we'll just give it to him. You don't have to win every pot. Here I flopped 2 overs, a gut shot to, you know, a pretty well in nuts hand. But I have Andrew left to act behind me. This guy bet into 3 people. I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of it right now. I'm kind of inclined to believe that, you know, it's likely that he has a pretty darn good hand to bet into a draw heavy board where you would really never expect a continuation bet of just, you know, with your air to work into that many people, especially when, you know, they all have position on you except Andrew, and one's, you know, kind of a calling station type opponent, Javer. So I gave, you know, Willie GB credit for a hand there. So the question is, like, you know, was it an overpair that, you know, I can almost certainly play off the hand at some point because the board's so nasty. So that was really my only debate I had, kind of internal debate I had going on in my head, is can I play this guy off of his hand, and, you know, should I call or raise or just fold? And ultimately, you know, you just don't, like I said, you don't have to fight for every pot, so I just gave it to him there. I mean, it's a pretty thin spot, as you guys can probably imagine, based on my explanation. So the ace-jack, king-jack suited, certainly good enough to raise under the gun. Ace-jack offsuit is plenty of hand to raise a limper, there's no question about that. And we flop a really strong hand here, and this is one that, you know, it'd be certainly nice if we had a hand like Jack-10 or something and we could get the whole enchilada. But I would never fold, even if this guy check raises me, I won't fold. We're going with this hand. So he folds right away, but that's okay. You know, we're continuing to win pots without a showdown, and that's good to just keep building your stack and not really having to do anything other than bet. And here at the deuces, you can actually get rid of these pre-flop in this position. I'm going to play them for 2 reasons. One is, you know, I want to play some more pots for the video. Secondly, and you know, I probably would play them normally anyway because of Javer being in the big blind. He's so likely to call, and, you know, if you flop a set, it'd be nice to win a stack. So here's a type of board where if it weren't for the flush draw, I'd probably just pound my way through this board. If it was king, queen, 8, I think at some point, you know, it's going to be hard for somebody to flop a super strong hand that wants to call three shells from an under the gun razor betting into 2 people. So this might be the type of board where I take a hand like pocket deuces and just pot the flop and pot the turn and pot the river and say, hey, have fun calling me with you know, your king 10. But the flush draw complicates things the 8 complicates things slightly. Not well. I take that back. That comment's totally out of line. The 8 did not. I was thinking if it were a 9, it would complicate things. But it's not a 9. It's an 8. So yeah, the 8 did not complicate things. But yeah, if it were like a king queen 8 rainbow flop, I might just barrel through, and if the guy has the heart to call me down with king 10, or if he hits a 2 pair and can't get away from it, then so be it. But I don't mind making guys have big hands. That's until the short stackers started running over poker, which believe me, I spent about an hour waiting for games just so I could make this video because of all the short stackers. I didn't want to play with any short stackers at the table. The short stackers kind of ruin some things. I'm going to call here, and I'll probably check call this flop and lead the turn. But what I was getting at is, poker's about putting someone to a decision for all their chips. No limit Holdem, and the short stackers do that quite often. However, it's for basically nothing, 20 blinds. So in any event, I wanted to play real poker, so I held out to be able to do that. I am never going to get him to fold on this turn, or excuse me, on this river. That he quickly called. I just can't imagine any hand that folds. I don't think he'd fold ace high. He might have turned a jack, and now he has the nuts. There's just no way. So I'm just gonna have to surrender. So it's no guarantee he would even fold at that end of the river bet. And that was probably the weakest thing I would have ever expected him to have, is king high there. I was expecting, ace high or a full house or something. But it was only because his hand got counterfeited on the river. Was it really king high? So my read was correct on the turn. And I put him on like an ace high or a jack, or a 3 was kind of what I was thinking. I didn't think I could get any of those hands to fold on the river. Certainly not the nuts. And ace high seemed optimistic, and the 3 got counterfeited, but I figured it might have been ace 3. So anyway. And here we'll call it the ace 3 suited, just because it's the Javer factor. But we get shipped on. We're getting not a good enough price to call it ace 3. I don't know what hand I would need here. Maybe like pocket eights, or ace jack suited or something I might call. So Javer getting pretty frisky here, and that's kind of disappointing because he's drawing dead, and we, in having position on him, I look at that as my money. I look at that as this guy just took some of my money here by getting half of Javer's stack. And now Javer's getting a little short. We're actually going to have to make a better hand on him to bust him, because we can't just pound him for 60. He's probably just going to ship when he's that short, and he might be a little tilted. I mean, clearly if he's calling queen 5 suited there, he's probably looking to gamble, and he might be like, he might be of the mentality like go broke or go big or go home. So maybe we can get him here. So we 3-bet the queens, just super standard. And here we'll make it 60 with the ace king, and we'll get it in with anybody pre-flop. So I think we'll probably make this our last hand here on table 1, and I'll keep up a little commentary and play another hand over on table 2. Well, it looks like we're 4-handed now, so I'll play another hand, I suppose. Well, now that we got a little bit more, we'll actually play another orbit. I'll play the paid hands and then through to the free hands, so I won't pay the blinds again. Here at the king deuce suited, I'll just call pre-flop. And so we flop nothing. It's not a great board to really like represent hands and stuff. I think we're just going to go ahead and get out of there. You know, we could pop the flop, but then he's going to be real suspicious because we can't rep much, so he's likely to come back. And then I don't really feel like shipping the money in with king deuce. I'm not sure that's fun, so it's like no matter what I do, you know, I could float the flop turn and just bet the river if he checks. I mean, there's ways around it, but there's also, you know, not really a big crime in just being like, hey, I have nothing and this guy has, you know, and I'm just gonna, you know, live to fight another day. So I'm gonna go ahead and squeeze here, and you know, hopefully the original raiser will fold, and maybe Jaber will stick it in with queen 5 again or something. So he doesn't, so he plays it pretty close to the vest. And so we'll raise 8-7 suited. Not a ton of EV here on table 1. All these guys here, Andrew's probably the smartest one sitting out. All these guys here are definitely solid poker players, and I'm just going to go ahead and give them the pot here. I'm not always this kind. You know, I'll fight back, 4 bets, you know, play for stacks light on the flop, you know, all that stuff that is pretty standard at 5-10, but I'm going to just go ahead and give him the pot this time. So it looks like it's been a good winning session. Not to keep jinxing myself, but since I've become a part of DragTheBar, they've been kind enough to give me a boom switch when I make videos, which I thought that was really nice of Hunter to do something like that. He is quite a guy, and I wasn't expecting a boom switch to come with my videos, but I have made probably, I'm not sure I have any video yet out with DragTheBar where I've made less than a buy-in. So that definitely beats my days making videos at Stocks Poker when I used to make videos there and I lost every single video. And it used to be a running joke. I think I remember one time I lost like 12 videos in a row or something, and I think in all my videos combined I probably lost money. I played just fine, but it wasn't a profitable endeavor to make videos over there at the tables. So in any event, thank you, Hunter, for my boom switch, and if anybody has any questions about this video, please feel free to get into the forums there, ask me whatever you want. I'll be around. I'm really super pumped, as you guys know, to answer your questions, help everyone out. That's what we're here for. Take advantage of it and crush it at the tables. Until next time.